for you, Kings fans, wherever you may be. All the frustration and disappointment of the past is gone. The 45-year drought is over. The Los Angeles Kings are indeed the kings of the National Hockey League. They are the 2012 Stanley Cup champions.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to another post-game live here on Dime Dropper for the 2024 playoffs. Before we get started, make sure you subscribe on YouTube at Dime Dropper and hit the notification bell so you know every single time I post a video. And Locked On Clip, wrong show. And yeah, you can listen to this on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And we are live from Los Angeles to talk about some more playoff games. As I said in my last couple of episodes, and as you all know, I have been trying to watch every single playoff game. Every single first-round game has been broken down on this channel, but we are not leaving any stone unturned, even if it takes me long to catch up. I am still behind, so I know some of the comments I'm going to make in this episode are going to be a little strange because other things have happened in the series, and some of my takes might sound crazy now because, you know, there's been games that have been played that I haven't watched, but I'm just going to speak as if those games haven't been played yet, basically, okay? So bear with me, because in a couple of years, when we're looking back at this, or next year even, or a couple months from now, it's not going to matter when I recorded it. It just matters what games I'm talking about. So every single game will be time-stamped. If you only want to listen to certain breakdowns of certain games, that'll be there for you. But I'm going to have it time-stamped. So one game from each series we're going to break down, and then obviously I'll try to do the same thing tomorrow, similar time. So first, we're going to talk about the Dallas Mavericks and the Oklahoma City Thunder game one. Now, I'm doing this first because this is especially for you Dallas fans that have subscribed recently. So I'm giving you guys a little bit of a preference here. So OKC and Dallas, right? Before I actually start talking about this, I'm going to give my prediction for the series that has not changed even now. And that is the Oklahoma City Thunder winning in 7 games. I think that they just have more weapons overall. I think that they're a better defensive team. You know, when I see Dallas, I think I see a much improved defensive team and a good one. When I see OKC, I see a very good one. I think they have better perimeter defenders, more athleticism, and I think SGA can outplay Luka in a series. So I'm going to go with them in 7. That's my prediction. And even though as I'm speaking about this, the Mavericks are leading the series, I don't change my pick. Anyway, let's talk about game 1, though. Now, first thing I always look at when I watch a game, what are the initial matchups? Derek Jones was guarding SGA, which I think you could have guessed. Luka was on Josh Giddey, which you also could have guessed. PJ Washington on Jalen Williams. And then Kyrie on, what's his name? Who's the other guy they start? Oh, Lou Dort. And then Chet and Gafford. And then you had J-Dub on Kyrie Irving, Chet on Gafford, Dort on Luka, SGA on PJ Washington, and then Josh Giddey on Derek Jones Jr. As far as pick and roll coverages, Chet Holmgren and drop coverage, as you would expect. You saw that all season. And then Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford, the same thing. Whenever Dallas tried to put Josh Giddey in the pick and roll because that's the weakest defender out there for the Thunder, he would show and recover. And the Mavs were switching still 2 through 5. And what I mean by that is there weren't too many times where the Thunder put Kyrie in the action. And it's kind of like the same conversation as the Clippers series, as our series is like, teams are not going to put Kyrie in the action as much because they want to put Luka in the action. So you see Luka switching on to just about everybody, and it was not looking good. Whenever SGA saw Luka switched on to him, he saw green, but it was a pretty sloppy start for both teams. I mean, SGA had 2 turnovers and some bad early passes. Kyrie Irving had 4 turnovers in the first quarter. 3 of them were just bad passes and some like unforced stuff where you're just like, okay, Kyrie, like your passing ability is looking kind of weak right now. Now, you know somebody who I thought actually did get off to a good start? Josh Giddey. I thought he was getting downhill pretty well and making plays, had a nice lob to Chet Holmgren, and then he was doing a good job of rebounding as well. When Josh Green came in, he took a crack at guarding SGA. But, you know, as far as the Thunder in the first quarter, I thought they were getting a lot of good looks, but just bricking shots. Like straight up Lou Dort missed a layup. They were hunting Luka and they were having success. They were getting good looks from it. But Dallas, you know, they were hanging around and they were still competing. And Luka actually got off to a pretty good start in this one, in that pick and roll. He had 8 points in the first quarter, but nobody else for the Mavs had, and no starters at least, had more than 4 points in that first. Josh Green actually came in and hit 2 threes, 1 from each corner. But yeah, the Thunder, Arkansas Jalen Williams came in and hit a 3-ball, hit a midi on the pick and pop, and took a charge. So at the end of the first quarter, the score was deadlocked at 23. This series is going to be fun, man. Second quarter, OKC went on an 8-0 run, and it was led by Aaron Wiggins, who hit 2 threes, got to the basket. He had an amazing game, his best game of the playoffs thus far. And there was actually a moment where Isaiah Joe and Aaron Wiggins shared the court together. I've been talking about how Mark Dagnall's kind of staggered those two so far in the playoffs, but he's been playing them. They played them together in that stretch. You know who else I thought was really solid for the Thunder in the second quarter was Chet Holmgren, blocking shots, getting some buckets as well around the basket. And, you know, Chet, he is that pick and pop threat at all times. He didn't actually make a 3, though, in that second quarter, but he had 6 points on 3 twos. SGA had 11 points in the second quarter, and he was getting tons of free throws. You know, when we talked about SGA, let's see what kind of whistle he gets in the playoffs. Through the first 5 games of the postseason, pretty damn good. Aaron Wiggins, by the way, he had 12 points in the quarter. As far as players that played well for the Mavs in the second quarter, I thought Derek Jones Jr., you know, he had 7 points, hit a 3. That's good production from him. But the Thunder were getting like every call. I'm not going to lie. In that first half, they were getting legitimately every call. I mean, of course, they were playing good D, but the home-centric whistle, the home court advantage, that definitely was part of the reason why they were winning. But they also were just getting more balanced scoring. In the second quarter, the Thunder outscored the Dallas Mavericks 39-30, 11 points from SGA, 12 points from Aaron Wiggins in that quarter. For the Mavericks, Luka Doncic played the entire second quarter, and he was 1 for 5 in it, just 4 points in that one. Daniel Gafford and Derek Jones actually led the way scoring-wise for them in that second quarter. I have to say, you know, the Thunder were playing pretty good defense, you know, as they always do. Lou Dort guarding Luka Doncic, doing everything he can. The thing about Luka is, you know, I don't really think there's a real defense for him when he's at his best, but the way he's played in the playoffs, and you can point it to like an injury and whatnot. I pointed to maybe he's a little hobbled, but Lou Dort and Terrence Mann, who have been the primary defenders on him through the first 7 games of the playoffs that I've broken down and watched, they've done a good job, and he settled for a lot of jump shots, a lot. As far as the first half stats, let's see. It was 53-62 Thunder at halftime. Luka Doncic had 12 points on 4 for 12 shooting at the half. Kyrie Irving had those 4 first-quarter turnovers, but he had only shot 4 shots overall, which is definitely not what you want if you're a Mavericks fan. And then as far as the Thunder standouts, SGA had 19 at halftime, 9 of them from the foul line. Chet had 11, and they had no threes made at the time. Then Wiggins with 12 off the bench. Third quarter, by the way, if you're wondering like what perspective was I watching this game from, kind of neutral, just kind of looking at both best I could. Dallas though threw the first punch in the third quarter with a 9-0 run, and they really turned it up defensively. Starts with the ball pressure, but just activity and help. And Kidd made a little adjustment that we saw in a couple possessions, which was PJ Washington guarding Chet Holmgren so they can switch that pick and roll. So potentially switching PJ on to SGA, and then they would have Derek Jones switch on to Chet, which they wouldn't really get too much of an advantage. OKC. So that was working pretty well. And then having Gafford on Josh Giddey. And so they were making the Thunder play a lot more one-on-one basketball. And then you saw Gafford's ability to help affecting things. And so then when Kyrie Irving made a 3-ball on the break, I think it was 65-66. Mark Dagnall called the timeout, and I thought he made a really good adjustment by putting in Isaiah Joe for Josh Giddey. So now Dallas doesn't want Daniel Gafford chasing Isaiah Joe all over the place. So he comes in and hits a 3 right away. Then Lou Dort hits a 3. Then Chet hits a 3. Then SGA hits a 3, which forces a timeout from Jason Kidd at 80-69, and it would be 2 straight step-back threes for SGA. So the Thunder really turned it on after that timeout. Great adjustment by Mark Dagnall. And I'm not saying that like Gafford had to get switched back to Chet again, and they just completely destroyed them in the pick and roll or anything like that. But man, it offered a little bit more, you know, nobody that couldn't shoot really when you put that lineup in. And OKC, you know, as at home, they have a way of lighting it up at times. And SGA, man, just completely outplaying Luka to this point of the game. And I mean, he just looks so ready for the moment. And his game translates very well to the playoffs because mid-range, he embraces, and he constantly puts pressure on the defense trying to get downhill. As far as defensively on Luka, they were trying to get Isaiah Joe put in the pick and roll, and he was doing a decent job of hedging and recovering. But yeah, that Thunder run I talked about, it was a 14-4 run led by SGA. Isaiah Joe hit a second 3 as well. Kyrie Irving did beat the buzzer, though, at the end of the third. But overall, the third quarter was won by the Thunder 27-26. SGA had 10 points in the third. Isaiah Joe had 2 threes in the third. Luka Doncic 1 for 5 again, played the entire third quarter. And then Kyrie Irving had 9 points though. So he was starting to get going, and they showed a graphic of like Kyrie Irving and how much better he's been in the second halves of games. And yeah, that's absolutely true. He has been. But to beat this Thunder team, I think they're going to need him to play better for both halves. Now, as far as the fourth quarter, Jalen Williams started getting into the act. He made 2 threes to make it 102-87. And then Luka, he took a hit, took a knock, and was limping and stuff. But like, I just don't like how, he makes a shot and then he starts limping. Like, it's just, he's doing a lot of the things I see him do when he's healthy. I'm not denying that he might be a little banged up, but a lot of his misses are just either a little bit long or a little bit short. It's not like they're bad misses. I think he's shooting a lot of jumpers, and you can put that to the injury and whatnot. But then, like, what was game 5 and 6? Did he get? I mean, he did look like he took an extra knock and a couple hits in this game. But like, if you're on the court, you got to produce. I mean, if Luka's bad in every single game from this point forward, then okay, he's too hurt. But we'll see if that happens. I mean, the defense, he's been. It's hard to play around Luka playing that poor of defense. Now, the Thunder went on a 12-2 run after Chet got an offensive rebound and fed Isaiah Joe for 3. And then Kaysen Wallace hit a 3 right after. The thing about the Thunder is once they get stops, they can get out and run, and you can be blitzed in no time. And so overall, the Thunder ran away with it. They just looked younger. They had more offensive weapons. They had the best player on the floor in this particular game, and they just looked like the better defensive team and rode the home crowd home. So OKC defends home court in the first game. As far as Dallas, this was not the game to win, in my opinion, but you lost the fourth quarter by a score of 16-28. Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving combining for 7 points in the fourth. So the Mavs were held to 30% shooting in the quarter. Thunder 65%. Jalen Williams 10 points in the fourth. So that would be all she wrote for game 1. The Thunder winning it 117-95. For the Mavericks, let's read the lines. Is there anybody really worth mentioning off the bench besides Lively and Green? Tim Hardaway Jr. was 1 for 5. Dante Exum was 1 for 5. You're going to need a little bit more from them when the Thunder bench players are producing at such a high level. Josh Green had a pretty good game, though, I will say. 11 points, 4 boards, 3 dimes on 4 for 9 shooting. 3 for 8 from 3. Derek Lively just got 13 minutes, so I can't really say much about him. It's because Gafford was playing so well. 2 points, 4 boards on 1 for 3 shooting. The starters all played 25 minutes or more. PJ Washington played 25 and a half minutes and had 10 points and 6 boards on 4 for 7 shooting and 2 for 3 from deep. I wasn't looking at this game from a Mavs perspective to see like the defensive stuff, but as far as the offense, that's good enough from PJ, I think. You're going to need better from the other guys. Derek Jones, he was only had those 7 points in the second quarter, and he was pretty quiet otherwise, but 3 for 5 from the field, 1 for 3 from deep. Again, these are not the guys you need to rely on offensively. If they're only getting 5 shots and he's shooting 60%, you can't be too mad at him. Gafford had a double-double, and I thought he had some great moments of rim protection. 16 points, 11 rebounds, 5 of those offensive rebounds, 5 blocks, 1 turnover on 5 for 12 shooting. Just a couple of misses he had in the short roll where it was a contested layup or something that he missed. But again, that's pretty good production. Now let's look at the stars. Kyrie Irving, 20 points, 1 rebound, 3 assists, 2 steals, 1 block, 4 turnovers. The positive, he didn't turn the ball over after the first quarter. He also shot really well from the field, 50% and 75 from 3. The negative, you're only shooting 14 shots, only 2 more than Daniel Gafford. I mean, you need to be a little bit more aggressive. And if it means forget the pick and roll and let's go one-on-one, that's what you're going to have to do. Because you can't be shooting that efficiently and only shooting 14 shots, especially when the Dallas Mavericks' third best player is God. Let's, debate it in the comments. I mean, it's either PJ Washington or Daniel Gafford. Like, come on, man. Or Derek Jones. This is the third options you've got. These 2 players are by far the best players on the team. You got to empty the clip in every game. Luka Doncic, not quite good enough at all, just like game 1 of the first round. 19 points, 6 rebounds, 9 assists, 2 steals, 5 turnovers on 6 for 19 shooting, 1 for 8 from 3, and 6 for 10 from the line. I mean, if that's going to be the performance, there's no way the Mavericks are going to win this series, and there's nothing you can say. Mavericks shot just 39% from the field, 34% from three, 68% from the foul line, but they've turned the ball over 15 times. That is not a recipe for winning the first game, and that was really not their game to win. The Thunder shot 45% from the field, 46% from three, 75% from the line, and only shot 3 more free throws than the Mavs overall in game 1. But let's look at the bench for the Thunder. Gordon Hayward played 7 minutes and had a tip, but missed it. 0 points for him. I don't even know if he scored in this postseason. Isaiah Joe played 14 and a half minutes, had 6 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, and a steal. And his insertion in that third quarter really turned the tide back for OKC. They never really looked back after that. 2 for 4 from the field and 2 for 3 from deep for him. And then Jalen Williams from Arkansas, really productive minutes. Probably his best playoff game so far. 11 points and 9 rebounds to go along with 2 assists. No turnovers on 5 for 7 shooting and 1 for 2 from 3 in 17 minutes. I mean, that's really good production. Doing well in the pick and pop, energized, took a charge. That's what you want to see from him if you're a Thunder fan. And then Cason Wallace, 22 and a half minutes, 7 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, and a steal. He was a plus 13. He was 2 for 5 from the field and 2 for 4 from 3. The guy plays defense, competes, can knock down some shots. Good young player these guys have, and that's one of many. Aaron Wiggins, probably his best playoff game of his young career. 16 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, and a steal to go along with a block on 5 for 7 shooting, 3 for 4 from 3, and 3 for 4 from the foul line in 23 minutes of play. He was an awesome spark plug for them. And then the starters. Josh Giddey played just 17 minutes. I thought he had a rougher second half, but first half he was pretty good. 2 points, 5 boards, 2 assists, and a block. No turnovers on 1 for 4 shooting and 0 for 2 from 3. Lou Dort, 25 and a half minutes, 7 points, 4 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 steals, and 3 turnovers. So not a great sounding stat line. On 2 for 9 shooting, 2 for 5 from 3, so 0 for 4 from 2, 1 for 2 from the foul line, but he did a great job on Luka, did all he could. Physical, getting his hands up, and fighting over those screens best that he could. And then you've got the big three, the new big three. Let's start with Jalen Williams. Very solid game, especially in the fourth quarter. 18 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, and a block. Takes the responsibility of guarding Kyrie Irving for the majority of the game. 6 for 15 from the field, 2 for 5 from 3, 4 for 6 from the foul line. So not the best shooting night from J-Dub, but I mean, I think that only means that he'll have a better shooting game in game 2, I think. Chet Holmgren, really, really solid performance overall from him. He's been awesome in his first postseason of his career. 19 points, 7 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 steals, 3 blocks, 1 turnover on 8 for 16 shooting and 2 for 5 from 3 and made his only free throw. I mean, come on. This guy is a beast. And then SGA, my player of the game. How about 29, 9, and 9? With a steal and 2 blocks to go along with it, 2 turnovers. He was a plus 21, which is the highest of any Oklahoma City Thunder player. 8 for 19 from the field, 2 for 4 from 3, and 11 for 13 from the foul line in 37 minutes. Oh, man, the former Clipper, he is cooking. Great win for the Thunder. Now we're going to move on to the Boston Celtics and the Cleveland Cavaliers game 1. My prediction in this series is Celtics in 6. I think the Cavaliers have had a successful season at this point. And I think the goal for them is to bring Donovan Mitchell back and then just continue to develop Garland and Mobley and Jarrett Allen and continue to maybe improve the complementary pieces as time goes on. But let's talk about game 1. So in game 1, the Boston Celtics came out, by the way, no Kristaps Porzingis and no Jarrett Allen. So that kind of cancels out, to be honest. They had Al Horford guarding Isaac Okoro to start, Drew Holiday on Donovan Mitchell, Tatum on Mobley so they could switch the pick and rolls when Garland or Mitchell wanted Mobley to come set the screen. Jaylen Brown on Max Strus. By the way, 3 straight years playing the Celtics in the playoffs for Strus. Then Derek White on Darius Garland. On the opposite side, Mobley on Horford, Donovan on Holiday, Garland on White, Strus on Brown, and Okoro on Tatum. Jaylen Brown had the first 7 points of the game for the Celtics, going to the basket, really in attack mode. They started switching Okoro onto him because he was the one the aggressor to start the game, not Tatum. And he's had a couple of those really good starts in the postseason so far, Jaylen Brown. Darius Garland was picking up right where he left off in game 7, bricking every single shot. Horford was in drop coverage. Karis LeVert and Donovan Mitchell were quickly hedging on Jason and Darius Garland were hedging on Jason Tatum, so not switching. And then Tristan Thompson was in drop coverage when he came in, and Luke Cornett was in a high drop versus Donovan, trying not to let him just walk into pull-ups. The Celtics threw the first punch, but then the Cavs answered with an 8-0 run with 5 points by Isaac Okoro, 2 wing threes. Donovan Mitchell also started to get going, but it was really kind of Isaac Okoro and Donovan Mitchell versus Jaylen Brown and Derek White in that first quarter. Derek White had 2 wing threes as well for 8 points. But Donovan, he hit a pull-up 3 in transition and had 5 straight points to cause a timeout for the Celtics. They took the lead 23-21. As far as the more defensive coverage stuff, the Celtics were switching 1 through 4, even with Sam Hauser in. So like Hauser would be switching onto those elite guards, and the Cavs were allowing LeVert to switch onto the Jays. And I have to say, through 8 games of watching the Cavs so far in the playoffs, I've been impressed with Karis LeVert's one-on-one defense. Don't think it's been that bad at all. As far as, let's see what else I had in that first. Yeah, Jaylen Brown, he was getting to the rim at will. And that's the key for me with Boston, is they need to continue to get to the basket. Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum have to set that tone, get downhill, get to the rim. He had 15 points in the first quarter. And the Celtics went on a 13-4 run towards the end of the quarter, led by Jason Tatum, and very good rim protection by Luke Cornett and some solid one-on-one defense from Sam Hauser. And the Celtics offense, it looked great. They were getting to the rim, but they just got to tighten it up. They just had to tighten it up on D. It was 40-34 after 1, but they were being very aggressive. And when they're being aggressive, that's what gets the ball moving. That's what gets defenses in rotation. So first quarter stats, 40-34 Boston after 1. Jaylen Brown had 15 points in the first. Jason Tatum had 9 points in the first, and Derek White had 8. As far as the Cavs, 8 for Okoro, 14 first quarter points for Donovan Mitchell. He was picking up right where he left off in Game 7. The beginning of the second quarter, the non-Mitchell minutes, Cleveland went scoreless for the first 4 minutes of the quarter, and it was a lot of Darius Garland getting solid looks in pick and roll and bricking. Both teams, by the way, were having some what seemed like unnecessary switches just to begin that second quarter. What I mean by that is like they don't intend to switch, but they're getting caught defensively, like behind on the pick and roll or something, and they have to switch because they don't want to give up the line drive. Pritchard and Cornett, man, I have to say those white guys for the Celtics off the bench, they did a pretty good job playing D. Payton had active hands, was ready to help, always alert, playing solid one-on-one D. But the basketball at this point of the game, second quarter, was just horrific to watch. I think it's an embarrassment sometimes what's happening, in the game today. This team's just chucking up threes in the playoffs with no regard. And the shots that they're passing up to take these threes, it's really appalling to me, and it's really bad to watch. It's not playoff basketball for me. But when Jaylen Brown was in, he was continuing to be in attack mode, whether it was mid-range or just getting downhill. Tatum, though, not great. A lot of Paul George tendencies. Too much dribbling at the top. Everything from the top of the key with the defense facing you. A lot of contested jumpers. We can get to the rim. Just a bad last 90 seconds where he had 2 misses and an unnecessary foul. But because Darius Garland really had a rough half, the Cavs just weren't quite there. They only had 15 points in the second quarter, but the Celtics only had 19. So it was just a rough second quarter to watch in general. The score at halftime was 59-49 in favor of the Celtics. And I thought that the Jason Tatum stuff and the bad threes for the Celtics were kind of keeping Cleveland in it. For example, Jaylen Brown had 20 points in the first half, but Tatum was 4 for 12, 11 points. Donovan Mitchell, 17 in the first half. Darius Garland, 3 for 10. So that was the story at that point. And of course, I'm watching this game from a Celtics fan's perspective because, they're the favorite. Third quarter, Derek White. And by the way, Jaylen Brown, I thought he did such a great job defensively all night, but Derek White's three-point shooting this postseason, I don't even know what to say about it. 4 straight games, dude's just lights out, even hitting threes off the dribble contested. Drew Holiday also had some really great passes throughout the game, whether it be in pick and roll or finding cutters, all that. But Donovan Mitchell, man, he was not letting the Celtics just walk away with this. He was getting downhill. He was hitting threes. 16 points for Donovan in the third quarter, and he played the entire thing. But he had 16 of the 28 in that quarter for the Cavs. Celtics had 33. Derek White had 14 of those and hit 4 threes, and Drew Holiday had 2 threes as well. So the Celtics had 7 threes in the third quarter, and Peyton Pritchard had a buzzer beater at the end of the quarter that was I knew was going in because at Oregon, you saw him do those kind of things so many times, come up, end of the shot or end of the game clock, or to beat the buzzer, just deep three. Those were shots that Peyton was very comfortable with. And then you had the fourth quarter. It was a lot of Jaylen Brown, and the game was kind of in the refrigerator after that. Donovan Mitchell had 10 points on, Evan Mobley had 10 points on 5 for 5 shooting in the quarter, but Donovan Mitchell only played 4.5 minutes of it because it was basically over. Jaylen Brown had 8 points, and just like that, it was done. The Celtics won the fourth quarter 28-18. They gave no quarter and won game one pretty handedly. This was not the Cavs game to win at all. They won it by a score of 120-95. Let's read the lines for the Cavaliers. Off the bench, 4 points from Niang. And I think, was that in garbage time, though? Yeah, it was. So he didn't even play really like that. Sam Merrill had 0 points on 0 for 5 shooting. Marcus Morris, 3 points. That was in real time. 1 for 3 from the field. Tristan Thompson, 4 points, 2 rebounds on 2 for 3 shooting. And Karis LeVert, just 4 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists on 2 for 6 shooting in 26.5 minutes. So a grand total of 15 points from your bench for Cleveland. You're going to definitely need more. Peyton Pritchard outscored them single-handedly. The starters, Isaac Okoro at 28.5 minutes. He actually had a pretty good game. 11 points, but just 1 rebound, 1 assist, no registering in any other category. 4 for 11 from the field, 3 for 8 from 3. Max Strus had a rough shooting game. He couldn't make anything. 5 points, 2 rebounds on 2 for 8 shooting, 1 for 5 from 3. And then Evan Mobley, 17 points, 13 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 block, 1 turnover. But to be honest, I didn't really notice Mobley that much. Those stats weren't as impactful as they look. 8 for 12 from the field. And then the star backcourt, Darius Garland, continues to struggle, and they're going to need him to play much better to have a chance in this series. 14 points, 3 rebounds, 5 assists, and steal. No turnovers, though. And I have to say, the Cavs only turned the ball over 5 times. So if there's any positive to take, it's that they took care of the ball. But he shot 6 for 15 from the field and 2 for 5 from 3. 2 for 8 from 3. That's a lot of threes. Donovan Mitchell, he was awesome. I honestly have nothing bad to say about him. 33 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, and a steal. And those 33 came in 3 quarters. Did have 3 turnovers, though, of the 5. So maybe 1 less turnover would be nice. But 12 for 25 from the field, 4 for 11 from 3, 5 for 5 from the line. I have to say he's been spectacular in the playoffs so far. The Cavs shot 41% from the field, 26 from 3, and they shot 42 threes. So, again, a lot of chucking. 10 for 13 from the foul line. Cleveland, that's not going to get it done on the road. Celtics shot 49% from the field, 39 from 3, and 86 from the foul line. As far as them, Xavier Tillman got some minutes without Porzingis in this one. 2 points on 1 for 1 shooting. Luke Cornett, I thought he was awesome. Rebounding, protecting the rim, doing all the little things. 4 points, 10 rebounds, 6 offensive rebounds, and 2 blocks. So there you go. Little Red Cornett. Big time performance. 1 for 3 from the field, 2 for 2 from the foul line. Sam Hauser with a donut on 0 for 1 shooting, and that only shot being a 3, of course. Not much to say about him, but I thought he played pretty good defense, as I mentioned. Then Peyton Pritchard having probably his best game of the postseason so far. 16 points, 5 boards, 2 assists. Did turn the ball over 3 times, though. And the Celtics weren't too turnover heavy either, just 6 turnovers, but half of them were from Peyton. 5 for 12 from the field, 4 for 10 from 3. And then the starters, probably the best starting lineup in basketball, that or the Nuggets. Well, it's not. Without Porzingis, it's not. But Al Horford, 7 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, and a steal on 3 for 7 shooting and 1 for 5 from 3. Al, it was no solid performance. Not much to say there for me. Drew Holiday, very good game from him. 14 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, and a block on 6 for 14 shooting and 2 for 7 from 3. And it's crazy he only had 2 assists because he was making so many good passes. Doesn't always tell the full story. Derek White, this guy's just been insane. I don't really know what else to say. 25 points, 1 rebound, 5 dimes on 9 for 16 shooting and 7 for 12 from 3. Are you serious? 7 for 12 from 3? Okay. Dude, it's just, I don't even know what to say. 25 points. And then you had Jaylen Brown. Actually, no, let's go to Tatum first because he wasn't as good. He's got to be a little bit better. Shoot the ball better, take smarter shots. He plays good defense, though. 18 points, 11 rebounds, and I like the rebounding. 5 assists, 3 blocks, just 1 turnover. So that's great. But 7 for 19 from the field, 0 for 5 from 3, just 4 free throw attempts and made them all. Need better from him. But Jaylen Brown, he's off to a great start. And I would argue he's been the best player on the Celtics through 6 games. And I'd argue that Derek White might be better than Tatum so far through 6 games. 32 points, but a lot is created by Tatum, I will say. No coincidence he leads the team in assists in this game, he and Derek White. 32 points, 6 boards, 2 assists for Jaylen Brown on 12 for 18 shooting and 4 for 6 from 3 and 4 for 4 from the line. I think he was my player of the game just because he set the tone scoring the ball for Boston. So good win for the C's, defending home court. Now we're going to move on to game 2 of Wolves and Nuggets. And oh boy, do I have stuff to say about this. I mean, oh my God. Wow. The Minnesota Timberwolves didn't have Rudy Gobert because his kid was being born. So they started Naz Reid instead, right? And oh my God, what I proceeded to see, first off, it was obvious that it was Kyle Anderson, I'm sorry, that was starting. And it was interesting the matchups that they were going with. Towns guarding Jokic, of course. Conley on KCP. McDaniels on, what's his name? Gordon. Anderson on MPJ. And then Edwards on Murray. And then on the other side, Murray on Conley. KCP on Ant. Jokic on slow-mo, Gordon on Towns. So Jokic on slow-mo to help. Gordon will guard Towns, try to switch that pick and roll if they put Ant in the action. But that would mean KCP is guarding, what's his name? Cat, which I'll talk about in a sec. And then MPJ on McDaniels. Now, as far as pick and roll coverages, in the beginning, Nuggets were showing Joker onto Ant and then switching 1 through 4. So again, that means Murray on Cat or Ant. The Wolves, they were a little bit more selective, as I've talked about in this postseason. They were switching the McDaniels-Edwards, no problem. Or Anderson, McDaniels, Edwards, no problem, those matchups. But not switching Conley on to no Jokic. And, it was very obvious that the Nuggets were trying to get Aaron Gordon going early because he was so quiet in game 1 offensively. And they did. He, had a putback, and he was active early, getting a couple of buckets. But Karl-Anthony Towns, he was the tone setter for me for the Minnesota Timberwolves. 11 points early on, and 6 of them were with Jamal Murray switched on to him, and he wasn't settling. And I love that when Towns is that aggressive, getting to the basket and putting constant pressure on the defense and actually using his size, not settling for a bunch of threes. And, Aaron Gordon was also being aggressive and hit 2 threes as well. 13 points in the first quarter for him. And then the Wolves, they started turning up the physicality. And this was something that you would see for like the remainder of the game, was them turning up the physicality. And Michael Malone completely lost his mind at one point, went up to referee Mark Davis's face and was just going nuts. And I am shocked that he didn't get ejected. And I am shocked that Mark Davis didn't, crazy that Mark Davis went up in his face like that too, but I just can't believe he didn't get ejected. I guess they know each other well, and I like to see that though. But I would like to see that consistent in other games. If you're not going to give a coach even a technical foul for coming up to your face like that, he's about to swing on you, and then you're giving taunting text to players for showing emotion during playoff games, it's just whack. But anyway, then the Wolves went with Naz Reid guarding Joker, and then when Joker had the ball in the post, they were doubling. And the thing about the Wolves is they have so much length and athleticism. They do such a good job of rotating and scrambling and closing out and running you off the line and then helping and making you make the third and fourth play to get a good shot. And their ball pressure is so good. And you were starting to see, even without Rudy Gobert, it's the ball pressure, the perimeter defense, the point of attack defense from Ant, from McDaniels, and from Nikhil Alexander-Walker that makes the Wolves so amazing. They were making Denver work for everything. They were getting downhill off of the misses. Kyle Anderson had 2 steals, and they started leaving Anderson open. He was 2 for 6 in that first quarter. But there was one lineup that they had with Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Ant-Man, Naz Reid, Catton, and McDaniels. All five could shoot. All five have size. Defensively, I mean, it just looked like a nightmare. And Murray, and Jokic, especially Jokic in this first quarter, they were just getting careless with the ball. Jokic had 3 turnovers. And I mean, it was a lot of, the pick and roll and Murray and stuff like that. But in my opinion, they should have just tried to go with more Jokic posting up. Just work through Jokic. Because at the end of the day, when you're doing Jokic pick and roll and Murray, as lethal as it is, it's a lot of Jamal Murray. And if he's not making his shots, of course you can still get a good shot, but when he's not making his shots and these defenders are all in his grill, then you want to probably play through your best player, not your second best player. And when Jokic went out of the game in the beginning of the second quarter, the minutes without him were a disaster. Complete disaster. Reggie couldn't make a shot. The ball pressure by McDaniels and Alexander Walker was insane. And this is with Anthony Edwards out of the game. In Towns, he continued to hit every contested jumper and be aggressive. And Jamal Murray, man, he was getting clamped like I'd never seen him get clamped. Like McDaniels and Alexander Walker were all over this guy. He was only getting contested mid-ranges off. And I mean, it was insane. Obviously, they were allowing a lot of physicality, but the way Murray was getting rattled was crazy. I had never seen the Nuggets struggle to get good shots like this before. And Nickeil Alexander-Walker was also hitting on the offensive end, whether it be in transition or the open three. And at one point, the Nuggets had missed 11 straight and could not score for a minute. They got 3 shot clock violations. And Naz Reid even switched on to Murray twice and blocked him twice. And I mean, just the help defense from Minnesota constantly swarming and sending bodies. It was just unbelievable to watch. One of the best defenses I've ever seen. As I've said, best since those grit and grind Grizzlies teams. And the Nuggets got so rattled. Jamal Murray was bitching to the TNT broadcast. He was, he threw a heat pack on the floor from the bench. I mean, it was insane. And on the other side, KCP could not guard Ant-Man without fouling. So I'd never seen Denver lose their control, lose their composure of the game so easily. So, I mean, or ever. Like I've never seen them lose their composure like that. And Shaq always said it. And he was completely right about it. It gets harder to repeat every single year you try to do it. And you're seeing the Nuggets get tested like never before. Ant-Man was starting to take over too, by the way. 12 points in the quarter. Wolves were up 54-30 at one point. Naz Reid even blocked Joker in that quarter. And the defense was just insane. 11 Nuggets turnovers led to 10 Wolves points. And it was literally just Jokic and Murray getting locked up. The Nuggets having no bench. Too much Murray, not enough Jokic post up. And they couldn't guard Ant without fouling. At halftime, the score was 61-35. 61-35 in Denver, down 1-0. And I legit don't think it was an effort or not caring thing. I think the Wolves just clamped them. And at this point, we're just looking like the better team. They shot 54.5% from the field in the first half and 41% from 3. And the Nuggets shot just 33% from the field in the first half, 29% from 3, and had 9 turnovers. Jokic had 8 points and 7 assists on 3 for 8 shooting and 4 turnovers. And Jamal Murray was 1 for 10. Reggie Jackson 0 for 5. So Aaron Gordon was the leading scorer for the Wolves with a third of their points. I'm sorry, not a third. 15 out of 35 points. And then for the Wolves, Karl-Anthony Towns had 20 in the first half. And he shot 8 twos, by the way. And then Naz Reid had 9. Ant-Man had 16. It was just a beatdown in the third quarter. Jokic's defense was trash in drop coverage against Conley. And again, I think Jokic is just terrible in drop coverage. You saw last year that he was actually able to he kind of stepped up in a high drop and had his hand out to just kind of deter the ball handler and make him take a wider angle. And he had good point of attack guys as well and great low man help behind him. But this postseason, you're seeing Jokic play worse defense. He was terrible against Anthony Davis one-on-one. And I mean, when he's got to just come out and hedge, in my opinion, because unless he goes back to playing as good of defense in the pick and roll and drop coverage as last season, where he was, using his body really well and kind of getting into the ball handler a bit, then he can't play drop because he's not a presence at the rim at all. He can't get off the ground. Once Ant gets the rim, he's getting a layup and a good look. And the Wolves, I mean, they're just so big, man. They're just all over the place defensively. Their athleticism is crazy. They all can attack closeouts. Like, that's another thing. And Murray's just getting clamped. I mean, the Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Naz Reid tandem off the bench. I mean, sorry, Norman Powell and Russ, but there's no better two-man tandem off the bench. But I will say, Denver did tighten up the defense in the third quarter and actually won the quarter by a score of 21-25. So they played good defense in the third. Held Naz Reid to 2 for 7 shooting. But, I mean, they needed to do better. You're down by 26 points. So now you're down by 22 points heading into the fourth. I mean, Jokic had 8 points in the quarter and played the entire thing. Murray played the entire quarter and had 6 points. MPJ played the entire quarter and had 5 points. But 40% from the field, I mean, that's not quite going to cut it when you're down by 26 points. So it just shows you the Wolves' defense is just insane. In the fourth quarter, Michael Porter couldn't hit any momentum threes. They started making pushes, but he had some open threes and he couldn't hit. And then Ant-Man, I mean, just continued to kind of get downhill and make things happen. 7 points in the fourth quarter for him. And then on the Nuggets side of things, Murray had a donut in the fourth, and so did Jokic. So, like, if your best player is going to play like that, no. The only two players that played well enough were Justin Holiday and Aaron Gordon. And at one point, I don't know what it was with all the traveling Wolves fans, Ant-Man was getting MVP chance. So at this point, here's what I have to say. The Wolves are more athletic. They're much deeper. Ant-Man has outplayed Jokic through the first 2 games. The Nuggets' best players have been terrible, and they have to be great because otherwise, we know that the Nuggets lost Bruce Brown. So it has to come down to Jokic and Murray producing, and they have not produced. And the way they lost control of their emotions from the coach down, that was crazy. And it just makes you realize how hard it is to repeat because now they're down 2-0 in the series. You lose one game in Minnesota, you're down 3-1. I mean, unbelievable. Unbelievable. So I can't believe what I'm watching right now. I've been super adamant on the Denver Nuggets winning the championship train, but to go down 2-0 against Minnesota like that and get fucked up that way in game 2, it's unbelievable defense without Gobert. You've got to give so much credit to Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Ant-Man, Naz Reid, and what's his name? Jaden McDaniels. I mean, unbelievable. Let's read the lines for the game. Game 2, the final score in an absolute blowout, 106-80. The Timberwolves, looking like the best team in the world right now to this point. Denver shot 35% from the field. Minnesota shot 50%. Minnesota shot 39% from 3. Denver shot 30%. Only thing that the Nuggets shot better was free throws. 72%. Minnesota 64%. And the Nuggets they ended up getting 4 more free throws than the Wolves too, even with those calls. The Wolves turned the ball over 12 times, Nuggets 16 times. Let's read the lines. First, for the Wolves, Monty Morris played 7.5 minutes and had 2 points on 1 for 4 shooting and 0 for 3 from deep. And then the main man off the bench, Naz Reid and Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Nickeil Alexander-Walker had 14 points, 6 rebounds, 1 assist, 3 blocks, 1 turnover on 5 for 9 shooting, 4 for 7 from 3, and he was a plus 11. He is playing amazing. He's been amazing all season. He was literally laughing when guys were dribbling up the court against him defensively. He was so physical, and he's one of the best on-ball defenders, I think, in the league. Played 30 minutes. Naz Reid, another fantastic game. 14 points, 5 boards, 1 steal, 4 blocks, 2 turnovers on 5 for 14 shooting, 4 for 8 from 3. I mean, he didn't shoot well, but come on. Naz Reid, 6th man of the year, and rightfully so with the way he can impact both ends. I love Jamal Crawford in commentary. He's like, you're not supposed to be playing this good of defense as 6th man of the year because Jamal, Lou Williams, a lot of those guys are kind of just scorers, get in there and get buckets. Naz Reid is not. The starters, Kyle Anderson played 26 minutes, and I think he was really good for what you needed him to do. 6 points, 9 boards, 8 assists, 2 steals and a block, 2 turnovers on 3 for 8 shooting and 0 for 1 from 3 in 26 minutes. That's a classic slow-mo stat line. And then Jaden McDaniels. Again, he has not shot well in the first 2 games, but his defense has been so integral. He was a plus 26, which is the highest of any player in the game for either team. Like, come on. The guy's just been amazing. 5 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals and a block, 1 turnover on 2 for 7 shooting. He was limited with foul trouble, 5 fouls, played 26 minutes and 26 seconds. But I can't even say enough about how amazing he's been in the postseason so far. And then Conley, 4 points, 3 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals and a block, 2 for 5 shooting, 0 for 2 from 3. I'll tell you what, he played 32 minutes, and I thought he was very solid. Such an intelligent player. He's communicating on defense at all times and is pushing the right buttons offensively. A true table-setting point guard that gives no shits about his stats. I think Mike Conley, let me ask the comments. Is this the best team he's ever been on? Is this better than the 2013 Grizzlies? Because, or the 2015 Grizzlies? Because this team is very good. And then you've got Ant-Man and Cat. I'm going to go with Cat as my player of the game in this one, actually. He was so good. 27 and 12. He's completely outplayed Murray through 2 games. 1 assist, 1 steal, and 2 blocks, 2 turnovers on 10 for 15 shooting, 3 for 5 from 3, and 4 for 4 from the line. Are you kidding me? 67, 60, 100 splits? When Cat plays like that, he's untouchable. He's one of the best. Ant-Man. How good is this guy? The young leader. He is a man amongst boys, is he not? Oh, hold on. My audio cut out. No. Shooting 3 for 5 from 3 and 4 for 4 from the line. Are you kidding me? 67. What was it? 60 and 100 splits for Cat. Yeah. And then, I think he's been much better than Murray. And then I'm going to go with the Ant-Man, 27 points, 2 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 steals, 4 turnovers on 11 for 17 shooting, and 1 for 4 from 3 and 4 for 7 from the foul line. So that's a little weird. But Ant-Man with a great game again. And he just gets better as the game goes on. I love how he picks his spots and when to take over. Let's talk about the Nuggets, starting with their bench. Peyton Watson, 0 for 2, 0 points. He's given them absolutely nothing through 2 games. Justin Holiday was good, 13 points on 4 for 6 shooting and 4 for 5 from 3. He made 4 of the 9 threes for the Nugs. Christian Brown has just not been nearly good enough this season and this postseason. 2 points on 1 for 2 shooting in 10.5 minutes. Then Reggie, as I said, he shouldn't even be in a postseason rotation, in my opinion, for any team with championship aspirations. He did get a little injury in this game. He was 1 for 6 from the field, 1 for 3 from 3, 3 points in 10 minutes of play. Then the starters. Aaron Gordon played 33 minutes, and he was the best one of them. 20 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal on 8 for 14 shooting and 3 for 5 from 3, and only turned the ball over 1 time. KCP is not shot well to start this series. 4 points, 3 rebounds on 2 for 6 shooting and 0 for 2 from 3. And let me just say this about KCP too. 4 fouls in this game. He didn't even play 30 minutes. And with the bench playing so shitty for Denver, he needs to stay out of foul trouble to stay on that court. 2 for 6 in the field and 0 for 2 from 3. There is no Bruce Brown this time. And then MPJ, he's been actually amazing in the playoffs so far, but he just had a rough one. And they're going to need him to play better in Minnesota. 9 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. And then 4 turnovers for MPJ. So that's no good. 9 points, 5 boards, 2 assists, and a steal on 4 for 12 shooting and 1 for 7 from 3. And then the stars, Jamal Murray, my God, 8 points, 13 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, 1 block, 4 turnovers on 3 for 18 shooting, 0 for 4 from 3, 2 for 2 from the line in 36 minutes. This is nowhere near good enough. But you got to credit the Wolves defense too. And then Jokic, 16 points, 6 rebounds, 8 assists, 1 block, 4 turnovers on 5 for 13 shooting, 0 for 1 from 3, and 6 for 6 from the line in 38.5 minutes. I also have to say, some of the turnovers that Murray and Jokic had were so careless. Like Murray's throwing behind the back passes down 20. Jokic is spinning in the half court, like throwing a pass in the air. It was just, these guys have to be a little bit more conscious of what's going on. They're way too cool for school. Combined, Ant-Man and Cat outscored you guys by themselves. So nowhere near good enough. That's all I got to say about that. And now let's end this with another great game involving the New York Knicks. They are just the most exciting team right now in the postseason. Every single game is exciting from them. And this was a doozy. Absolute doozy. Nembhard guarded Brunson again. Nesmith on DiVincenzo, but at times Nesmith would guard Nembhard as well. Miles Turner on Isaiah Hartenstein. Aaron Nesmith on DiVincenzo. Halliburton on Josh Hart. And then Pascal on OG. And on the other side, Isaiah Hartenstein on Miles Turner. OG Anunoby on Pascal Siakam. Jalen Brunson on Andrew Nembhard. DiVincenzo on Halliburton. And then Isaiah Hartenstein on Nesmith. As far as pick and roll coverages, Miles Turner in drop. Halliburton dropping for a second, then recovering. to his man. And then Isaiah Jackson was in drop versus OG. Isaiah Hartenstein was in drop for the Knicks. Now, the Pacers had moments where they're picking up full court, trying to put some pressure on the Knicks, get them to speed up a bit, play their pace. But one of the themes in the game to start was that Tyrese Halliburton had to be more aggressive. He shot just 6 shots in game 1, so he had to be more aggressive. And he was immediately from the outset, just pulling up for threes, looking to get downhill. And I talked about his lack of diversity in his shots. He needs to not just shoot threes and layups. He needs to and floaters. He's got to try to get in the mid-range. He's got to try to mix it up. And he did. OG, though, on this Knicks side of things, and I wasn't really looking at this game from a perspective of Knicks or Indiana, just watching it. OG was attacking relentlessly off the catch, and I thought he was amazing before he got hurt. 10 early points, attacking closeouts, and he had one miss that led to I forget what. I don't know what that note I put was, but he had 10 early points. TJ McConnell came in to guard Jalen Brunson, and man, TJ McConnell, he's been just insane in the postseason. He's been absolutely insane. Isaiah Hartenstein also playing at such a high level. At times, they were basically like hedging on Brunson and blitzing. And whenever he was in the short roll, he made the right decision like every single time. His rebounding, his finishing around the basket, his physicality on defense. There was even one time in the first quarter he was guarding Siakam one-on-one and got a stop. I mean, I miss Isaiah so much. It's going to be a complete pain to continue to watch him thrive at this level. And mind you, Mitchell Robinson got injured. So Mitchell Robinson's out. Precious Achiuwa playing those backup minutes. But, you know, when it comes to the Knicks, it's the Jalen Brunson show. He had a pull-up 3 to make it 24-13. Timeout Indiana. So the Knicks threw the first punch, led by OG, some solid D, and Jalen Brunson. But then the Pacers clap back after that timeout with a 15-3 run. And it starts with Halliburton making a real effort to be aggressive. He blamed game 1 on himself, and I like that. He had those 2 turnovers late that really hurt the team. And they went on an 11-0 run with Obi and TJ McConnell leading the charge. You know, Obi missed his first 2 shots, but he had 10 points in the first quarter. Getting to the basket, streaking out in transition, attacking closeouts, hitting threes. And then Tyrese Halliburton, 13 points in the first quarter, making good reads in pick and roll, knocking down the 3 ball. And a lot of stuff, it wasn't pick and roll. It was move the ball. And I have to say, the Pacers ball movement has gotten a lot better this year. It's not so much pick and roll with Halliburton. It's a lot of times it's move the ball, run a little quick off ball action, and then start swinging it. And I like when they move the ball. It doesn't stick too much. And I prefer that Rick Carlisle offense to the Luka Doncic just high ball screen and Tyrese Halliburton 2023 Pacers just high ball screen. They're moving the ball faster. And a lot of times Halliburton was getting threes off ball movement, not pick and roll. So he's the one that's getting open threes. So really good stuff there. And then OG Anunoby, though, I mean, 12 points from him in the first quarter. So he set a nice tone. And then Josh Hart had 6, but 4 Knick turnovers in the first half, and all of them were from Josh Hart. And then the Pacers giving the Knicks a little taste of their own medicine with 6 offensive rebounds in the first quarter alone. Precious Achiuwa checked in late in that first quarter for Hartenstein, and he had 2 solid finishes at the rim. And the Knicks had 36 points, but Brunson only had just 2 shot attempts in that first quarter. And then he got hurt, and they called it a sore right foot, and he didn't play the entire second quarter. But then he would come in the second half and do his Brunson thing. But in the first quarter after it, the score was 20. Whoa, I didn't even go to the Knicks game in the box score yet. But yeah, this series, I mean, so far through 2 games, very solid. And you know what? I do think that the Pacers could have stolen game 1. They really could have. But there was some unfortunate calls. But then Halliburton's turnovers, they were very costly. So how do you rebound from a game that's demoralizing, that there's that many controversial calls late in the game? What kind of mental toughness does a young team like the Pacers have? And in the first quarter, after it, the score was 36-36. Wow. Halliburton had 13 in the first. Toppin had 10 in the first. OG had 12 in the first. In the second quarter, TJ McConnell was doing his TJ McConnell thing. He was getting downhill all the time. whether it be on the break or off a closeout or in the pick and roll. Like, he just weaved his way and keeps getting screens so they go over. And then he gets downhill and he had so many nice passes, mid-ranges, layups. They went up by 6 and the Knicks called a timeout. Ben Shepherd had 8 points in the second quarter, 2 threes. So really solid stuff from him. And the Pacers took advantage of no Brunson for the whole quarter. The defense became easier to play. You're getting stops, and then you're getting in transition. And Halliburton hit 3 threes, if I'm not mistaken, in the second quarter. Yeah, he did. And when he hit that second one, it became a 10-point game, 64-54, and the Knicks called timeout. And they were pretty lights out in the second. Halliburton and Shepherd combined for 5 threes, as I said. OG Anunoby was like the only one scoring for the Knicks. He had 10 points in the quarter and was carrying the Knicks offense, hit 2 threes. But without Brunson, the Pacers were in complete control. So in that second quarter, it was 37-27 in favor of the Pacers, who hit 6 threes in the quarter and shot 68% from the field in it. So Halliburton had 9 points in the quarter. Ben Shepherd had 8. OG, the only player that had more than 5 points in the quarter for the Knicks. But thankfully for them, Jalen Brunson would return in the second half. At halftime, the Pacers were up 10, 73-63. OG Anunoby had 22 points at half. That has to be the highest scoring half of his playoff career. Josh Hart, 10 points and 8 boards to go along with 3 assists. Hasn't missed a shot and hasn't sat out a second at halftime. But he had also had 5 turnovers, and they were all 5 turnovers for the team. Obi Toppin with 13 off the bench, and then Siakam with a quiet 10. Third quarter, Brunson returns, and he starts hooping. But you know who started hooping even more? Dante DiVincenzo. He had that go-ahead 3 in Game 1. He had 25 points in Game 1, and now he started hooping. Hitting threes, attacked a closeout for a dunk, nice timely cuts. 14-4 run by the Knicks, ended up tying the game after trailing by as many as 12, and then Brunson started to create, started to get downhill, start to weave and pick and roll, and I thought Rick Carlisle took way too long to call a timeout. He should have called it when it was tied, and he let it run for an extra 5 points, and then called timeout, and when the Pacers were cold and the Knicks amped up the defensive intensity, crowd starts getting going, and that crowd's insane, then Josh Hart gets to get downhill, and they start getting you in transition. OG Anunoby gets threes in transition, and good things happen. And Josh Hart did a great job and has done a great job all postseason long of finding guys on the break and just finding guys when he's attacking closeouts. And one thing that teams will do is sag off of Josh Hart and load up on Brunson to try to make him pass. And he does exactly what I think Russell Westbrook should always do when they do it to him. Get the ball and just attack the gap. A lot of times, because Brunson is so lethal with the pull-up and is, so often trying to get downhill, they'll just try to get ready for him to make one move and get the ball out of his hand. So they're doubling a little bit higher or loading up a little bit higher than they would with Westbrook, when they would sag off a lot, because Harden, Kawhi, and Paul George right now aren't as likely to try to get the step. So they just want to show bodies just in case. But when Josh Hart gets the ball, he attacks that gap right away. And I really like that, and then makes a play from there. And when he beats that first guy, you need a second guy to rotate. That's what allows the open shots to happen. So, and then on the defensive side of things for the Knicks, a lot of it was the ball pressure, the Josh Hart, the DiVincenzo's, who's fighting every game. But OG Anunoby's help defense, low man, so good. The amount of blocks he can get. He's taken over games defensively to me in this postseason. And this one was the offense of OG that was so good. And in the third quarter, Tyrese only got 2 shots off. And the Pacers just went ice cold. And as I said, the Knicks got hot, but it starts with the defense. Tighten up the defense, get in transition. You get Brunson back in the game, get the crowd going. And it was the Nova boys, man. The Nova boys combined for 28 points in that third quarter. It was a 36-18 third for the Knicks. Hart, Hartenstein, DiVincenzo, and Brunson all played the entire quarter, with Achua relieving OG for 3.5 minutes worth. 12 from DiVincenzo in the quarter, on 5 for 6 shooting and 2 for 2 from 3. Brunson with 10 points in the quarter. And then Josh Hart with 6 points and 5 rebounds in the quarter. So much great stuff. And then OG with 6. Everybody contributing. Nembhard had 6 points for the Pacers on 3 for 3 shooting in the quarter. And then Obi at 7. Obi's been insane in the playoffs. I'm so impressed with him on both ends. But yeah, they were ice cold, 33% in the third, whereas the Knicks were 67%. So huge third for the Knicks. And they went into the second half. I'm sorry, the fourth quarter. The Knicks went to the second half up by 8. Yeah. I'm sorry, to the fourth quarter up by 8. And then the fourth quarter, OG Anunoby had a sore hamstring and was out the rest of the game, which is a huge loss. Huge. But you know who got going for the Pacers? TJ McConnell. So much good one-on-one stuff. Get into that mid-range. And when he's in that mid-range, man, he's automatic. And then a beautiful crossover late in the shot clock on Deuce McBride for a lefty finish. Caused a timeout for the Knicks and made it 101-102 and led a 10-3 run. But then Brunson came in and just started to cook one-on-one. Just you couldn't stop him, knocking down contested jumpers. But Siakam finally started getting him into the act. In the third quarter, he was 0 for 5. 0 for 5, Pascal. Even missed a layup in the roll. He hits 2 straight turnarounds over his right shoulder. After that, they started doubling, and at one point, it got Nembhard a 3. As far as late defensive coverage schemes, Pacers were showing Turner on Brunson. So, they were kind of trying to get the ball out of his hands and just not trying to let him get an advantage getting inside the three-point line. Achua was playing instead of OG, and he was dropping, and then sometimes that late switch on Halliburton. So, dropping and then staying on him. And then eventually, the Pacers were blitzing Brunson, but at one point, to answer back that Nembhard 3, DiVincenzo had a huge 3 to make it 115-110. And then he had an offensive rebound that led to a Precious Achua basket. As this is happening, the Pacers, 5 missed free throws by their big men. 2 by Jackson, in the fourth alone. 1 by Turner and 2 by Siakam in this span. And when DiVincenzo got that rebound and fed Achua for that dunk, they went up by 7, and that's when I kind of knew the Knicks had him. But DiVincenzo's ability to make these big plays in this postseason so far has been kind of remarkable. He had that game winner in game 2. He had the go-ahead shot in game 1, and now he's doing all this. I mean, he started this series amazingly, these first 2 games, DiVincenzo. And as far as Indiana, Halliburton was amazing in this game. I actually have no complaints. But the free throws, you got to make your free throws. And then they started throwing straight doubles on JB off of Precious Achua, of Brunson. And the one time they didn't double, Brunson hit a turnaround jumper with a hand in his face. So, and you know what the Knicks did again to seal the game? Completely killed on the offensive glass. When push comes to shove, you know what the Knicks are showing me? That they're better conditioned than everyone else. And for all the load management lovers and all the excuse makers that say these players need load management and the workload and this and that, these players, despite the fact that they have to cover more ground in the half court defensively, they have a softer workload than the past players. They don't practice full speed as much. They don't ride commercial planes. They have all the people in the building that are literally getting paid to help them prevent from injury and reduce pain and all this. They have the benefit of modern surgeries. And you're telling me that this stuff is too hard for them and Tibbs runs his players into the ground and all that. I don't know about that. Because right now it's proving that they're better conditioned at the end of games. They're always first to the offensive glass at the end of games, and they're winning with, on the margins in a lot of these close games. And so many, if not all their games in the playoffs so far have been close, and it's been an amazing thing to watch through 8 games. The Knicks outscore the Pacers 31-30 in the fourth. Tyrese Halliburton had 10 points in the fourth quarter. McConnell had 6 points, but he couldn't get more than 4 points from anyone else. Siakam played the whole quarter and was 2 for 5, including Achua getting a rebound over him. He needed to be better there, Pascal. He definitely needed to be better. And the free throws were just a killer. DiVincenzo, Brunson, and Hart played the entire fourth. Hart played the entire game. Hartenstein also made so many big plays late, including diving on the floor at the end of the game to get the last possession. I mean, the guy is just, I can't say enough. DiVincenzo had 8 points in the fourth, including 2 threes. And then Brunson had 14 in the fourth on 5 for 10 shooting, played the entire quarter. Is there anybody that's closing games better than Brunson right now? Anybody? I mean, it's ridiculous how well he's playing. I'm just so impressed. And that's the game. 2-0, the Knicks lead in the series. They now have the same amount of wins that they got in that 2013 series against the Pacers. Will they get that third win, though? That remains to be seen. They lead 2-0. In this series, as I said, I got the Knicks in 6. Let's read the lines. The Pacers shot 52% in this game and 44 from 3 and still lost. The Knicks shot 57% though, and 47 from three. So one thing with the Pacers, they need Siakam to play better, but they also need to defend a little bit better. The rebounding battle, 34 rebounds for the Pacers, 44 for the Knicks. But funny enough, the Pacers won the offensive rebounding battle. So there you go. You got to win the rebounding battle. No rebounds, no rings. The Pacers did take care of the ball, though. Each team had 9 turnovers. But here's the difference. Knicks shot 22 free throws. Pacers shot 17. But here's the difference is 82% from the line for New York, 59 from the Pacers. Free throws. Let's read the lines for the Pacers. Isaiah Jackson, I think he's actually been really good to start the series. Good defense, finishing well on the roll. 5 points, 4 rebounds, 1 block on 2 for 4 shooting, but 1 for 3 from the foul line, and those 2 were costly. Ben Shepherd, he was really good too. 11 points off the bench, 4 for 6 on the field, 3 for 4 from 3. He was a plus 12. Obi Toppin, the bench for the Pacers might be the best in the league right now. 20 points for Toppin. He was their second leading scorer. 7 for 10 from the field, 2 for 4 from 3. He's been exceptional in almost every single game of the postseason. TJ McConnell, a double-double in 23 minutes. 10 points, 4 boards, and 12 assists. Did have 2 turnovers, though. 5 for 9 from the field. Here's my thing with TJ McConnell. There's an argument that could be made that he should have played more. But Nembhard and Halliburton weren't playing bad. But he was playing so well and only got 4 minutes and 50 seconds of that fourth. I don't know. His defense is so good. Something to consider. But what a game for him. What a playoffs he's having. 10 points, 4 boards, 12 assists on 5 for 9 shooting, 0 for 1 from 3. Then the starters. Andrew Nembhard played 27 minutes, and I think he had a pretty good game. 15 points, 4 assists, but I'm not looking at it defensively. So we'll look at the next game from a Pacers perspective because it's a must-win. 15 points, 4 assists on 7 for 9 shooting, 1 for 3 from deep. And one thing that Nembhard did in this game that I loved, he pump faked and actually stepped into the mid-range, which you don't see done in the NBA these days. But that's what I was taught as a kid. And then you have Aaron Nesmith, who had 6 points on 2 for 7 shooting and 2 for 6 from 3. He was not good enough in this game. No free throw attempts either. And then Miles Turner, who's had an amazing postseason thus far, did not shoot well in this one. Did not do well enough. 6 points and 7 boards on 3 for 11 shooting, 0 for 2 from 3, 0 for 1 from the line, and that missed free throw was big. You're going to need better from him and Nesmith. And then Siakam, not good enough at all in these first 2 games. 14 points, 9 rebounds, and we saw it in the play-in game against the Bulls last year with the free throws with Pascal. 0 for 2. 0 for 3 from 3, 7 for 18 from the field. He needs to be much better. And Halliburton, I actually thought he did everything he could in this game. 34 points, 6 boards, 9 assists, 3 steals, took care of the ball, just 2 turnovers, 11 for 19 from the field. Again, it's a lot of threes, but when it goes in, it looks good. 7 for 11 from 3, 5 for 6 from the foul line. So we'll see how they respond. Need some help from the other guys, and they need to play better D. For the Knicks, Alec Burks played 44 seconds. Donut, 0 for 1. Deuce McBride played 20 minutes. He was a little bit quieter these first 2 games. He had to play that whole second quarter without Brunson, but 4 points, an assist, not 1 for 4 from the field, 0 for 2 from 3, 2 for 2 from the line. Not much to say about Deuce. Precious Achiuwa, pretty solid game. 8 points, 5 rebounds. Came in and did the job. 4 or 5 from the field in 28 minutes of play. They needed him. He came in. He did his job. So very solid first 2 games of the series for him because he didn't get many minutes really in the Sixers series. Then the starters, they all play a lot. The guy who played the least was OG. Hold on, my audio cut out again. The guy who played the least was OG. He was amazing, though. 28 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 block, and no turnovers for the guy on 10 for 19 shooting, 4 for 7 from 3, 4 for 6 from the foul line, though. An amazing defense. I mean, the guy was insane. He's having a great postseason, and since game 4 of the Sixers series, he's been amazing in like every game. How about Hartenstein? Such a good performance. Nearly had a triple-double. 14 points, 12 rebounds, including 4 offensive rebounds. He's been doing that all playoffs. 8 assists, ton of them in the short roll. 1 block, 1 turnover. He was a plus 21 on 5 for 7 shooting and 4 for 4 from the line. And that was huge that he made his free throws in the fourth. 5 for 7 shooting. I mean, he's so good. He's having such a good playoffs. And he's in the spotlight. He is in the spotlight, and so is OG, and so is DiVincenzo. DiVincenzo was on the Warriors last year, but this is the biggest role he's ever had and the best he's ever done with it. Two amazing games to start the series. 25 in the first game, 28 in the second game. 10 for 20 from the field for DiVincenzo in this one. 6 for 12 from three, including timely threes. 2 for 2 from the foul line. 28 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists and a steal, and just 1 turnover. He's been insane. Then the other Nova boy, Josh Hart. Oh my God, another double-double. 19 points, 15 rebounds. How does he get so many rebounds? 7 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, 5 of the 9 turnovers. He's got to chill on those. 8 for 12 from the field, 1 for 3 from deep, 2 for 2 from the foul line. He made a timely 3, though. And then just like a la John Havlicek, played every second of the game. DiVincenzo played 44 minutes, by the way. But Josh Hart legitimately played another full game. And then Brunson, he only played 32 and a half minutes because the whole second quarter he didn't play. But, man, he got it done again. Huge fourth quarter, 29 points, 2 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals, just 2 turnovers for how much he's handling the ball. I'll take that all day. 11 for 18 shooting, 3 for 6 from 3, but 4 for 6 on the foul line is not quite good enough for him, but amazing. And the Knicks go up 2-0. My player of the game, I'm going to go with Brunson. He's just the closer, and he just gets it done. But yeah, I'm excited to keep watching these games. Thank you so much for joining me. I know this is annoying that I'm so behind and stuff like that, and like I'm saying things, and people are like, what were the last 2 games? Don't worry, I'll get to it. Let me know what you think, though. Let me know if you're still enjoying me talking about every game. I will be caught up soon. I will be live tomorrow around the same time to talk about the next games I watched. I'm going to watch, again, another 4, hopefully. And, yeah, let me know in the comments what you thought of my analysis. Peace. Have a great time. Please comment, by the way, all 10 of you, please. And super chats are turned on. If you want to drop $1 or a dime, you can turn on a super sticker. And thank you so much. I'll see you tomorrow.